you ever start a book and think, yeah, I've heard this is quite good, I don't know if I'm going to enjoy it that much, and then it shocks you at how bloody good it actually is? Or do you pick up books, you're like, I've never really heard anything about this before, and then you finish it and you're like, holy crap, why are people not talking about this book? It's so good. Well, I have 6 books here that have done that to me at some point. Hi, my name's Luke. You may have been here before, you may not have been here before. If you haven't, hello. If you have, you've probably noticed I've been gone or not posting for a while, and very sporadically. That's because 1, I've been busy with a holiday and some other stuff, and 2, realistically, I've been doing some other things. Reading has not been the forefront of my mind recently. I've got some other stuff going on. I got really into gaming recently, so that's another thing. But anyway, let's not get into that and get into these 6 books that shocked me at how bloody good they were. The first book is One Day by David Nicholls. Now, this book will forever hold a really close place in my heart. The reason for that is simply because of how it made me feel after I finished it. One Day by David Nicholls, if you've never heard of it, because I don't know, you've never watched one of my videos that I mention it in every single video, is about Emma and Dexter, and essentially what they do is they meet at graduation when they're young, and then throughout the next decade and a half, 2 decades, they end up kind of meeting and catching up and being like, actually I think we might be in love with each other or something, I don't know, but let's go and do our own lives. And it creates this kind of incredible relationship between them where it's just, they just get drawn to each other. They just can't help kind of being around each other. And the reason that I came out of this book being absolutely impressed, that's a weird way of saying that, but I said it, is there's something that happens towards the end where I'm like, wow, that's brave. Wow, David Nicholls, as if you just did that. Incredible. And it's the moment that I think everybody who has watched the Netflix series or read the book thinks about when they think about this book and how heartbreaking it is, and why David Nicholls chose to do it, I don't know, but it's so impressive that he did, because it really took this book from being just this incredible kind of love story to this kind of heartbreaking, overwhelming, emotional journey that you go on when you're kind of reading the book. And it'll be a book that if anybody ever asks me, what's the most romantic book you've ever read, will be this one, because it's not your candlelight dinner and you're doing sweet gestures things. It's the realization of what each kind of character wants, what Emma wants, what Dexter wants, who they want, what makes them want that person, that sort of thing. And that's proper romance, I think. That's true kind of romance if you're going to put a term to a book. That's One Day by David Nicholls. The ending shocked me. I was not expecting to adore this book as much as I did. I thought it would be good because, you know, it turned into a Netflix series. People had said the book's fantastic when I kind of bought it, did the photo of, I've picked this up as I know on Reddit. People said it was good. People said it's one of the best books they've ever read, or one of their favourite books of all time. And it was. It's fantastic. I'll always mention it to people because it just literally broke me for a few days after. Never, I don't think, another book has had this amount of impact on me. The next book is The Ember Blade by Chris Wooding. Now, this is a book that I actually read quite a while ago, and it says a lot that I still think about it whenever I think, okay, what books actually shocked me into being like, okay, I was actually really impressed by that one. So The Ember Blade is, I don't want to give it too much hype, so don't think I am hyping it this much, but has a lot of kind of Lord of the Rings feeling to it, in that we have a group of kind of journeyman people that all kind of come together. They're from completely different areas and they have one goal: to go and get something and then fix it or bring it back or sort it. I don't know, I don't want to give out too much of the plot. But what we then end up getting is this dynamic of, oh, I'm from this tier and this kind of great world, and oh, I'm from down here and I've done these horrible things and I'm a bad person, but I'm going to be a good person. And it creates a fantastic human dynamic, and that's without a doubt the best thing about the book. And then on top of that, there's a lot of humour. So I think once Wooding gets comfortable with the plot, he starts to think, okay, I'm going to start to introduce a few more kind of character elements. I know what I'm doing here and I'm going to make people funny. And that's when this book really got going for me and I really started to fall in love with it. The plot, I think, it was just a tad underwhelming. That's the bit where I don't 100% really care for it. But I really came out of this book impressed. I thought, yeah, I know people have said some good things about it, but this kind of quickly jumped to one of my favourite fantasy books of the year when I read it. And that's saying something, because I love fantasy. I think pretty much every fantasy I kind of read is a good book, at least most of the time, because the idea of creating a book where you've got plot, you create a whole new world that you've got to set it into, you've got to remember the cultures, I've always got a lot of respect for. I think is really, really cool. So all fantasy kind of sits in good, at least usually for me. But this sits within absolutely fantastic and really, really impressed me at the end. It's long, but at no point did I ever feel like it was long. I felt like I was just on this fun journey with these characters who, not everything they do is fun. Not everything they do is kind of easy and fluffy. This isn't one of your new cozy fantasy reads where you're like, oh, it's just fun. I'm going to cuddle up in a corner when it's snowing outside and read this. No, this does have some kind of dire moments. This has some tense moments. This has lore and culture and depth to it. And there is a sequel, and I'm hoping there's a third book. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't looked up. I can't remember if I saw something about it. But either way, there's more to this. Really, really impressive. If you're a fantasy fan, I would 100% recommend this. Even if you're not, it's still worth a read. Yeah, it is fairly chunky. We're talking over 800 pages here. I think the back might just be the start of the next book, though. No, that is part of the book. So over 800 pages here. So if fantasy and long books aren't your thing, maybe stay clear. But if you know you can do a long book and you know you can do a bit of fantasy, I would 100% recommend this. I think it was absolutely brilliant. And again, shocked me at the end at how much I actually ended up loving it. A series I think gets talked about enough, so I'm not going to say it doesn't get talked about enough or it gets talked about too much, is Jade City and the whole kind of Jade War series. I'm not sure what this is called, but by Fonda Lee. Now, I'm going to admit something. I've not yet read the third book. How or why, I do not know, because I utterly adored this and the second book. The reason I adored it is imagine kind of like Mafia meets kind of China meets kind of fantasy. So the idea behind these books is that there are kind of different family factions kind of going around, and they own they're like gangs, and they kind of deal in spice, and they deal in something called Jade, which essentially gives certain people powers and some people bad, doesn't give them powers, and their powers are different, all this sort of stuff. And that's kind of the element, but the actual kind of Jade element's not that big. We never really talk about Jade that much. It's more about the kind of family dynamics and the politics between one family and another, and the politics between individual families, and the rise to become the head of the gang and that sort of thing. Absolutely fantastic. Really, really impressed me when I was reading it, thinking this is cool. Like I've not read many Mafia books, actually, thinking about it, or gang books, but if I wanted to read one or suggest one to people, I'd say this is probably the best one I've read. I would say this is a great start. If you want to get that kind of Mafia feeling where everyone's part of a family, everyone respects each other, if you disrespect me, you end up dead. That's all part of this. That's all in here. And it gets to the point where it's really, really kind of like impressive with who she's willing to kind of, because of the kind of ideals in here. Amazing, really, really impressed. And as I said, there's this little fancy elements to it as well, though not, I would say, quite enough. But it's difficult because I came into it thinking it was going to be more fancy. I thought there was going to be a lot more Jade, there was going to be a lot more superpowers, and there wasn't that much involved in it. But I also found at the end, I wasn't that bothered. I didn't find myself that bothered by this fact, so that wasn't too much of a problem. Either way, absolutely fantastic, really, really impressed me. I'd heard good things going in, but it just, again, shocked me at how much after I finished this, I was like, yeah, I bloody love that. That was fantastic. Again, yeah, Jade City by Fonda Lee, and the sequel's fantastic as well. And I've heard the third's really good as well. I have suspicious feelings there may be a TV series or a film coming. I don't know. If there isn't, this would make a fantastic TV series. It's perfect for it. But that's Jade City by Fonda Lee. The next book is The Last Thing to Burn by Will Dean. Now, the reason this one shocked me was because it's not that long. I don't think I actually knew anything about it going into it. It was small. I think I picked it up because it was like £2.50 on Amazon or something. I thought I just want a nice, easy, short little read to read. And this was it. I'd heard good things about Will Dean. The reason it shocked me is because of how long it kept me up. So I think I ended up reading this in like a day, maybe 2 days, something like that. And physically reading it as well, which I rarely do with actual physical books to manage to finish them in a couple of days. I mean, it's less than 300 pages, less than 250 pages. But in those short amount of pages, it's probably created one of the tensest books I've ever read. Is that a word? Tensest? Most tense? Books I've ever read. It was brilliant. It's about essentially a woman, I don't want to give too much away, a woman who is kept trapped in a house with a man. And I say trapped in a very kind of small way. It's not like she's overly trapped. She's just kind of involved and she can't leave. And if she does try to leave, he's threatened her. And there's some other mysteries that are going on at the same time. And then one day something happened that essentially makes her even more determined to go off, run away, get away from this world. And it just creates this really tense moment as she's trying to leave and she's trying to get away, and it's fantastic. And then there's this bigger discovery that happens. You're like, holy, that's amazing. I was so impressed. And as I said, because it's that kind of like, when you watch like a BBC drama or an ITV drama and someone's like stuck and then they get out and they're running and you can tell someone's chasing them, or you're not sure if they're chasing them. It's really tense because it's like really close and the camera's shaky. I really felt like I was kind of doing that whilst I was reading this, and I could not stop reading it. I was flipping the pages at rate of knots. So easy to read. The text is big. Fantastic. Really, really impressed me. And as I said, I was shocked because I literally just picked it up as like a cheap, quick, easy read and ended up thinking, bloody hell, that's one of the best thrillers I've ever read. That was so tense, So fantastic, and it's made me want to read more Will Dean. That's The Last Thing to Burn by Will Dean. If you're looking for a quick, easy read, this is probably the best one I'd recommend that I've read so far. Now, you may have heard me talk about this one before. This is Iron Widow by Jiran Che Zhao. Now, this is a fantastic book, and is a book that really defines this video in that, yes, I literally got sent it, I'd seen it, it was on my wish list, so I'd heard some quite good things about it, and I read it, and I thought, oh my god, that was way better than I was expecting it to be. The reason for it is because it didn't stick to a lot of kind of your stigmas. Apologies if you can hear noises. My cats are playing with a box right now. It didn't stick to a lot of the stigmas. It's a female lead and there are good looking men in it, but it's not all about the female lead just being obsessed with the good looking men. It's about her trying to rise up and take charge of mechabots and like push against the establishment and go out and kill people and make big decisions for people and not really care what's going on. And it's just fantastic. It was just non-stop fast-paced action going on the whole time, and then it finished and I was like, I literally had to like take a breath. I'd been reading it for days and I finished it. I was literally there like, oh Christ. And the ending as well was so good. It has one of those like Brandon Sanderson endings where it's like, oh, you know, this whole kind of establishment, this politics thing that you've been kind of understanding about, yeah, that's just like the base layer. There's something much bigger going on here that you don't yet know about, and hopefully you'll find out more about in the second book. Cats kicking off. Let's all calm down, kids. There's a box down here that they are obsessed with. Absolutely fantastic book. Cannot recommend this enough. If you're looking again, so it's kind of like, it's kind of similar to Will Dean's Last Thing to Burn. This isn't that long. I know it looks quite thick, and I'm not sure why, maybe it's thick paper or something, but this is less than 400 pages long, which for a fantasy book, which is 100% what this is about, as I said, it's about mechabots killing aliens that uses their chi, humans' chi, to power these mechabots, and women have less chi than men, and that's what the story's about. This woman doesn't have less chi than the other men, but anyway, that is just cool, and I rushed through it. That's what I was trying to get to, the point was there. I rushed through it really, really quickly. Not as long as you think it's going to be. You could read it if you listen to an audiobook and stuck in some days, probably 2 or 3 days, you'd get this done. Really cool. Beautiful front cover as well. I could not recommend this book more. Really, really good. And I'm looking forward to picking up the sequel. I don't know if that one's out yet. If it is, I'm going to pick that up soon because it was brilliant. But again, I just came out of this one thinking, wow, that was well better than I was expecting it to be. So that's Iron Widow by Jiran Che Zhao. I hope I'm saying that right. I'm going to have to let the cats out or something after this, or I don't know, go feed them because they are messing this room up. One of them's over there right now playing the keyboard. The other one is sat right behind me, and the other one is about to attack the other one. I don't have 3. There's 2. He's sat behind me about to attack the other one. Anyway, the last book on this list is None of This Is True by Lisa Joy. Now, I like a thriller. They're fine. They get you through. They're quite fun. They're quick. They're easy. You don't have to think about new worlds or people or words or anything like that. It's just a nice, quick read, and there's an often fast-paced plot. They're fine. None of This Is True, though, was fantastic. Utterly brilliant. I finished it, and I remember kind of sitting there. I think I was listening to an audiobook, and I was literally crossing a road, and I took my headphones off. I was like, oh my God, that was amazing. And it was fantastic. It was so good. And everyone I've kind of lent this to as well has also said, yeah, that was really good. Even people that are like not generally that big a fan of thrillers or books I recommend them, they're like, yes, this was good. Without a doubt, Lisa Jewell's best book so far. Going to be hard to follow up anything to this one. It's just fast-paced. You don't know the plot, basically. One day a woman meets another woman who's her birth twin or something, which means she was born on the same day but isn't her twin. And then she owns a podcast and she wants to come on a podcast because she's like, I've actually got a really interesting life I want to tell you about. And then it's like, oh, her life is interesting, but is it really true? No, this is true. Amazing. Really, really impressed me. And as I said, this whole theme of this video is books that shocked me at how good they were, books that shocked me into being like, wow. And I went into this thinking, yeah, I've loved other Lisa Jewell books before, but not like, pow, amazing, left me shocked. Just, yeah, good book. Great book. She knows what she's doing when she's coming to her plot. But this one did leave me impressed. And it also left everyone else that has read it impressed as well. Gonna have to now go sort out my cats, but that's the last book on this list. That's None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. So those are the 6 books on this list. Before I go sort the cats out, I need to tell you them in order again in case you just, I don't know, skip to this part because, I don't know. So The Last Thing to Burn by Will Dean. The Ember Blade by Chris Wooding. One Day by David Nichols, not Chris. Lisa Jewell's None of This Is True. Jiran Che Zhao's Iron Widow, and Jade City by Fonda Lee. Absolutely fantastic books. All books that before I picked them up, I thought I'm probably going to mildly enjoy this, and came out thinking that was bloody brilliant. What books have you done the same for you as well? Have there been books where people have recommended it and you thought, no, this isn't my sort of thing, before you went into it, and then it was your sort of thing? Or did you like not have any idea about any sort of book and then you read it and you're like, why are more people not talking about this? They all happened here. Let me know. Let me know if you've read any of these. If you have not yet subscribed, bloody subscribe. If you haven't liked this video, I would appreciate a like. And as I said, drop a comment, do everything, share it, watch this 1,000 times in a row. That also helps. Either way, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video, and goodbye.